Anonymous is a loosely associated international network of activist and hacktivist entities. A website nominally associated with the group describes it as an internet gathering with a very loose and decentralized command structure that operates on ideas rather than directives. The group became known for a series of well-publicized publicity stunts and distributed denial-of-service attacks on government, religious, and corporate websites. Anonymous originated in 2003 on the image board 4chan, representing the concept of many online and offline community users simultaneously existing as an anarchic, digitized global brain. Anonymous members, known as Anons, can be distinguished in public by the wearing of stylized Guy Fawkes masks. An emblem commonly associated with Anonymous. The man without a head represents leaderless organization and anonymity. In its early form, the concept was adopted by a decentralized online community acting anonymously in a coordinated manner, usually toward a loosely self-agreed goal, and primarily focused on entertainment, or lulz. Beginning with 2008's Project Chanology, a series of protests, pranks, and hacks targeting the Church of Scientology, the Anonymous collective became increasingly associated with collaborative hacktivism on a number of issues internationally. Individuals claiming to align themselves with Anonymous undertook protests and other actions, including direct action, in retaliation against copyright-focused campaigns by motion picture and recording industry trade associations. Later targets of Anonymous hacktivism included government agencies of the U.S., Israel, Tunisia, Uganda, and others, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, child pornography sites, copyright protection agencies, the Westboro Baptist Church, and corporations such as PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, and Sony. Anons have publicly supported WikiLeaks and the Occupy movement. Related groups lulz's second operation Anti-Sec carried out cyber attacks on U.S. government agencies, media, video game companies, military contractors, military personnel, and police officers, resulting in the attention of law enforcement to the group's activities. Some actions by the group have been described as being anti-Zionist. It has threatened to cyber-attack Israel and engaged in the #OpIsrael cyber attacks of Israeli websites on Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, in 2013. Dozens of people have been arrested for involvement in anonymous cyber attacks, in countries including the US, UK, Australia, the Netherlands, Spain, and Turkey. Evaluations of the group's actions and effectiveness vary widely. Supporters have called the group freedom fighters and digital Robin Hoods, while critics have described them as a cyber lynch mob or cyber terrorists. In 2012, Time magazine called Anonymous one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Anonymous has no strictly defined philosophy, and internal dissent is a regular feature of the group. A website associated with the group describes it as an internet gathering with a very loose and decentralized command structure that operates on ideas rather than directives. Gabriella Coleman writes of the group, in some ways, it may be impossible to gauge the intent and motive of thousands of participants, many of who don't even bother to leave a trace of their thoughts, motivations, and reactions. Among those that do, opinions vary considerably. Broadly speaking, Anons oppose internet censorship and control, and the majority of their actions target governments, organizations, and corporations that they accuse of censorship. Anons were early supporters of the global Occupy movement and the Arab Spring. Since 2008, a frequent subject of disagreement within Anonymous is whether members should focus on pranking and entertainment or more serious, and in some cases political, activism. We, Anonymous, just happen to be a group of people on the internet who need, just kind of an outlet to do as we wish, that we wouldn't be able to do in regular society. That's more or less the point of it. Do as you wish, there's a common phrase, we are doing it for the lulz. Quote Trent Peacock. The Face of Anonymous, February 7, 2008. Because Anonymous has no leadership, no action can be attributed to the membership as a whole. Parmy Olson and others have criticized media coverage that presents the group as well-organized or homogeneous. Olson writes, there was no single leader pulling the levers, but a few organizational minds that sometimes pooled together to start planning a stunt. Some members protest using legal means, while others employ illegal measures such as distributed denial of service attacks and hacking. Membership is open to anyone who wishes to state they are a member of the collective. Carol Cadwalader of The Observer compared the group's decentralized structure to that of Al-Qaeda, writing, "If you believe in Anonymous, and call yourself anonymous, you are anonymous." Olson, who formerly described Anonymous as a brand, stated in 2012 that she now characterized it as a movement rather than a group. Anyone can be part of it. It is a crowd of people, a nebulous crowd of people, working together and doing things together for various purposes. The group's few rules include not disclosing one's identity, not talking about the group, and not attacking media. Members commonly use the tagline "We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us." Brian Kelly writes that 3 of the group's key characteristics are, 1, an unrelenting moral stance on issues and rights, regardless of direct provocation, 2, a physical presence that accompanies online hacking activity, and, 3, a distinctive brand. Journalists have commented that anonymous secrecy, fabrications, and media awareness pose an unusual challenge for reporting on the group's actions and motivations. Quinn Norton of Wired magazine writes that Anons lie when they have no reason to lie. They weave vast fabrications as a form of performance. Then they tell the truth at unexpected and unfortunate times, sometimes destroying themselves in the process. They are unpredictable. Norton states that the difficulties in reporting on the group cause most writers, including herself, to focus on the small groups of hackers who stole the limelight from a legion, defied their values, and crashed violently into the law, rather than the anonymous sea of voices, all experimenting with new ways of being in the world. Evaluations of anonymous actions and effectiveness vary widely. In a widely shared post, blogger Patrick Gray wrote that private security firms secretly love the group for the way in which it publicizes cybersecurity threats. Anonymous is sometimes stated to have changed the nature of protesting. In 2012, Public Radio International reported that the U.S. National Security Agency considered Anonymous a potential national security threat and had warned the president that it could develop the capability to disable parts of the U.S. power grid. In contrast, CNN reported in the same year that security industry experts generally don't consider Anonymous a major player in the world of cybercrime due to the group's reliance on distributed denial-of-service attacks that briefly disabled websites rather than the more serious damage possible through hacking. One security consultant compared the group to a jewelry thief that drives through a window, steals jewels, and rather than keep them, waves them around and tosses them out to a crowd. They're very noisy, low-grade crimes. In its 2013 Threats Predictions report, McAfee wrote that the technical sophistication of Anonymous was in decline and that it was losing supporters due to too many uncoordinated and unclear operations. Graham Cluley, a security expert for Sophos, argued that anonymous actions against child porn websites hosted on the darknet could be counterproductive, commenting that while their intentions appear beneficial, the removal of illegal websites and sharing networks should be performed by the authorities, rather than internet vigilantes. Some commentators also argued that the distributed denial-of-service attacks by Anonymous following the January 2012 Stop Online Piracy Act protests had proved counterproductive. Molly Wood of CNET wrote that if the Stop Online Piracy Act and the Protect IP Act protests were the web's moment of inspiring, nonviolent, hand-holding civil disobedience, #OpMegaUpload feels like the unsettling wave of car-burning hooligans that sweep in and incite the riot portion of the play. Dwight Silverman of the Houston Chronicle concurred, stating that anonymous actions hurt the movement to kill the Stop Online Piracy Act and the Protect IP Act by highlighting online lawlessness. The Oxford Internet Institute's Joss Wright wrote that in one sense the actions of Anonymous are themselves, anonymously and unaccountably, censoring websites in response to positions with which they disagree. Gabriella Coleman has compared the group to the trickster archetype and said that they dramatize the importance of anonymity and privacy in an era when both are rapidly eroding. Given that vast databases track us, given the vast explosion of surveillance, there's something enchanting, mesmerizing and at a minimum thought-provoking about anonymous interventions. When asked what good Anonymous had done for the world, Parmy Olson replied, "In some cases, yes, I think it has in terms of some of the stuff they did in the Middle East supporting the pro-democracy demonstrators. But a lot of bad things too, unnecessarily harassing people, I would class that as a bad thing. Attacking the CIA website, stealing customer data and posting it online just for shits and giggles is not a good thing." Quinn Norton of Wired wrote of the group in 2011. "I will confess up front that I love Anonymous, but not because I think they're the heroes. Like Alan Moore's character V, who inspired Anonymous to adopt the Guy Fawkes mask as an icon and fashion item, you're never quite sure if Anonymous is the hero or anti-hero. The trickster is attracted to change and the need for change, and that's where Anonymous goes. But they are not your personal army, that's Rule 44, yes, there are rules. And when they do something, it never goes quite as planned. The internet has no neat endings." Furthermore, Landers assessed the following in 2008. Anonymous is the first internet-based superconsciousness. Anonymous is a group, in the sense that a flock of birds is a group. How do you know they're a group? Because they're traveling in the same direction. At any given moment, more birds could join, leave, or peel off in another direction entirely. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Expect us.